I'm News North political reporter John McFadden, sitting here with NDP incumbent candidate Dennis Bevington. Welcome, Dennis.
Thanks, John.
I know that most of the people that are watching this know exactly who you are, but help us out for those who don't. Please introduce yourself, Dennis.
Well, as you say, my name's Dennis Bevington. I've been the NDP Member of Parliament here since 2006. I was born and raised in the north in Fort Smith. I was mayor in Fort Smith for 9 years in the 90s, and I've spent my life in the north. My children are here and my grandchildren, so I love the northern life, and I'm going to have full intentions to continue with it regardless of what happens in the election coming up. That's basically, I think, the tombstone date on me, and I'll leave it at that.
Great, very good. People want to know why you're running. You've had many years in opposition, but people want to know why you're running again.
Well, and I have served 9 years in opposition, and that can be a frustrating and difficult process for anybody. It's not something I'd recommend as an easy job, but I'm very excited with the prospect of the New Democratic Party being part of the government, or forming the government after this election, where we've been leading in the polls for the last couple of months. It's very close. It's a three-way race, but I think Canadians are reaching out to us right now. They're looking at the NDP as a great option for government, and as such, I'd really like to represent the people of the north in the government in Ottawa. I think there's so many things we can be doing. There's so many ideas that have built up over the years. There's so many things that we have to fix that the Conservatives have done, and I think people are looking for that change, and in an NDP government, I think I can deliver that change.
Dennis, you and I both know that there are a lot of challenges to living and working in the north. What issues have you made important as part of your campaign, and what issues are you hearing about from voters that you think are important?
Well, John, basically in the north right now we have a situation in the Northwest Territories where we have a fairly strong economy, but we're losing population. And that's because the cost of living here is too high. The cost of energy, the cost of food, the cost of transportation, the cost of housing, those things have added up to a burden that sometimes make it easier for people to live in the south and fly to a job at a mine or fly to a job somewhere else in the north. And that's unfortunate. We need to change that, and we need to open up those better opportunities for people that live in the north through improving the cost of living. That can be with the federal system, the tax system, Northern Residents Tax Deduction. For our more isolated communities, we want to see a better deal on the Nutrition North program. For energy, we need to see the investment in renewable energy. That's the only way in the long term we're going to reduce our energy costs in the north, and we'll put value added into our local economy if we go to renewable energy. I think the government of Northwest Territories made great moves in that direction. The federal government has to get on side and help with that as well.
As you know, Dennis, the Conservatives have said no other Prime Minister has taken a notice in the north to the extent that Prime Minister Harper has while he's been in power. How do you counter that?
Well, you can take a notice in it, but it's what you do for the north that's really important. You know, we dealt with the devolution bill, which, most people could support the devolution bill, but when they started to change and include the environmental protections that people had built into land claims into that devolution bill, and that turned a lot of First Nations against the government, because and ended up with the Tlicho and the Satu First Nations taking them to court. We'll fix those problems with the environmental protection laws that have been in place and do work in the north. We need to see investments in infrastructure. I remember when Stephen Harper came up to Inuvik before the election in 2008, and he was going to make a big announcement there. What was the big announcement? He was going to name a new icebreaker, the John Diefenbaker. That icebreaker hasn't even started yet, so we haven't seen much action on that front. He's made decisions about infrastructure that really should be in the hands of the territorial government as well. Territorial government and the First Nations governments in the Northwest Territories really are the ones that should have the greatest say in how infrastructure develops here in the north. And we will have our priorities for infrastructure development. I lobbied long and hard to get our borrowing limit raised in the north so that the government of Northwest Territories can actually invest in the infrastructure that's required here. So Stephen Harper's Holidays in the North, where he promoted Arctic sovereignty and the military aspects to the rest of the country, were useful to him, but I didn't see that they were that very useful to the people of the north.
Very good, Dennis. We'll leave it there. You've been listening to NDP incumbent candidate, Dennis Bevington.